Long before I was ever elected to this body, I sat in the chamber as a high school kid. For Michigan Youth in Government, that's why you have those wonderful thank you notes, which I've always thought is literally one of the coolest parts about this job, having young people say, thank you for letting me sit in your chair, and thinking that maybe one day they'll be able to have this kind of impact on our state. First, let me thank my family, my wife, Crystal, my daughter, Lily, my son, AJ, for everything. I couldn't have served without you. I wouldn't be here without you. And I'm so grateful that you shared all these moments, the late nights and the missed practices and all the things that they give up so that we can do the things that we love. My wife always says that politicians always say that they do this for their kids, and nothing could be further from the case. We do this because we believe that we can make a difference, and this is the place where we would have the greatest opportunity to do that. And I've always felt that, and I hope each and every one of you do the same. I need to also say thank you to my mom, my sisters, my brothers, and my incredibly large family that has stuffed envelopes, attended events, staffed things, cleaned up, set up, and generally been everything that I needed. And my mini staff, and when I say mini, I mean a lot. I'm especially thankful to James because he's still stuck around here with me, noting that I'm a lot to wrangle. And it has really been a priority for me to hire young black staffers like I was so many years ago as we talk about the opportunities that we create and the people that we make opportunities and ways for. 4 years ago, I joined the 99th legislature with now Senator-elect Sarah Anthony, coming into a lame duck that was unprecedented in Michigan's history, where we spent more than $1 billion in an evening. It gave me an opportunity to dive right into legislating. I knew that the time was short, that I had 4 years and 4 weeks guaranteed, and almost exactly that. I want to say a special thanks to my friend Shaquila Myers, who was very committed to making sure I had something to do that lame duck in, got me a bill requested, and did all the things necessary to ensure I had something to do and something that I could work on. That bill was to expand paternity leave for all family members, and I'm super grateful that my colleague Senator Geis is going to continue that work in the 102nd legislature. There was a lot of downtime in that lame duck with so few Democrats. I brought our numbers back up to 11, but it gave me an opportunity to get to know a number of the other members in the majority, particularly the Senate Majority Leader Shirky, who sat almost next to me. And we had a very spirited discussion about what good looked like right after I got word that my 1-year-old daughter had elevated lead. As we talk about these moments that impact our lives, that we share with people who we would never talk to in any other situation, but make such incredible difference in our lives and the lives of the people we care about. I also got a chance to taste Senator O'Brien's cookies. She sat right next to me, which is probably why I eat about 1/3 of the cookies she produces, and got to know about the 3 ovens. Although oatmeal raisin continue to be my favorite, I'm sure we're all grateful to have them on a regular basis. But my lame duck was really eventful because as I was running back to the chamber, I missed my first vote, and they moved to reconsider that vote, and I was all set to vote no, and I had hit the red no button, and Senator Young leans back and says, "Oh, that's a bold move, Cotton," as he's like pounding Cheetos, because I was voting no to reconsider the vote that I wanted to vote no on, and I was like, oh, I've got to fix that. And so I did, but it reminded me that in this chamber, you had a minute to vote, which is why I sit as close to the door as humanly possible, because I knew I was going to roam. I also noticed that people with snacks had a little bit more traffic, and so that's why I have a snack jar on my desk, because I thought maybe it would make people come by. But it was clear very early on that relationships mattered, and they mattered a ton. And thanks to some rather unconventional help from Senator Tice, I got my very first bill passed because she gave me the Senate version of a bill she opened that was in the correct version of law, and I got a bill passed in lame duck, and it was this crazy moment, but it got done at almost 11 o'clock, and then Majority Leader Meekhoff rose to the podium and was like commending me, and I was like, all right, this is going really well. And he said, you know, though I commend the senator, he has already violated the first and most hallowed tradition of this chamber. And he said, where is the beef? And I was like, oh, I didn't miss something. Because I didn't have food for my first chamber bill passing. And so we all remember this thing. And Lieutenant Governor Calley was presiding. He said, you know, he's been here like a week. He's got a bill pass. I think he'll be all right. I made a lot more friends when my gift actually arrived. I had caramel cakes and lemon cakes and all those things. But this is a space of tradition, a space where time really does matter, where people matter. And that is what I've tried to make the hallmark of my career, of my time here, is understanding that relationships matter. And I've had the opportunity to go out and visit many of your districts and invite you into mine through a variety of district exchanges. I even joined and co-chaired the Sportsman Caucus. Went out for a turkey hunt. I saw a turkey, he saw me, I shot, we both left unscathed. But you know, but I had a lot of friends who were like, hey, you came out, and I was like, yeah, sure, yep, But it's easy for us to think about the moments that divide us. I just want to share a couple of moments that bring us together. Senator Barrett and I have spent the majority of this time as the only two members of this chamber still currently serving in the military. And when he offered me the opportunity to go up in a helicopter that he was flying, I said, sure. I figured, you know, that's better than any trust fall we can get. I'm going to go get in a helicopter, you're going to fly. The mid-flight flight or the mid-flight dinner was terrible. Would not recommend. We stop, we eat, and then they fly upside down and do all kinds of crazy things. Would not recommend it. But those are the things that matter, is when so many of us bond over food and dinners and all those other kind of things. I think it's pretty ironic that the food I like most is grown by one of my colleagues. So you will always remember when Senator Victory got his first bill passed, he brought these boxes of root vegetables. And I'm really grateful to many of you because many of you gave me your boxes as well. Senator McMorrow and I have had a lot of those kind of conversations you just wouldn't have otherwise. And I'll never forget, we were talking really casually about running attire. And I was like, Mallory, I dress like a highlighter because I want people to know that I am running for exercise. And when I say I dress like a highlighter, like I am in neon everything. I'm wearing a high visibility reflective vest that says Captain Hollier, U.S. Army, because I want people to be very clear that I am out for exercise. And then a few weeks later, Ahmaud Arbery was killed while out for a run by people who said, well, we thought he was coming from committing a crime. And we were able to share this moment where I was talking about my lived reality because I had to live a different kind of way because I'm a black man in America. And the conversations we have about race are hard. They're difficult, but if we don't have them, no one else will. And so I hope you continue to have them, because in this chamber, I got to share my grief, my sorrow, and just all the moments I had as we dealt with the death of George Floyd and Patrick Lyoya. And you all will have similar experiences that you've got to be able to deal with as we dealt with KKK flags and Confederate memorabilia and a whole host of other things that make people feel unsafe, that I hope we'll address, to include the continued rhetoric against transgender murders, many of which have happened in my district, which is why I've been such an ardent, and why I've talked about it so much, because it continues to happen in my backyard. And in those really unsettling moments, I'm super grateful for Senator Moss, because he's a shoulder I get to commensurate on. And we shared one of those moments when people were outside our office protesting with Confederate flags and swastikas and talking about how we didn't belong in this space and what it meant to be able to walk across the lawn knowing that we did belong in this space and we were going to make decisions. So I'm just really grateful to have you as a friend, and to note that even though we've done a lot of heavy things and dealt with an unprecedented amount of stuff, we have gotten things done over these last 3 legislatures. When I first got elected, my good friend Wayne Schmidt said to me that we had 2 responsibilities. The first was to pass a budget, and the second was to legislate. And he reminded me that he had served in the minority. And I think that was one reason that he's always been someone who you can go and work with about bipartisan issues, because he knew what it was like to serve without the gavel and without power. Some of the things I'm most proud of in my time in the Senate centered around the Appropriations Committee, something that has been run by Senators Thomas and Senator Hertel, who have managed to lead and balance 4 consecutive budgets with no shutdowns and a lot of collaboration. Something that can be a model for what we do here in this chamber. And I think recognizing that budgets are the clearest indication of our priorities, I'm grateful that you made sure that the things that matter most to me and my constituents were included, like the Clean Slate package, Goodwill's Flip the Script program, which was zeroed out in my first year budget and has been increased every year since and has changed the lives of literally thousands of people. Or making sure that the Motown Museum could do its record-breaking expansion and create the next generation of people who are going to grow and make sure that people know our city and our state and our country. To the expansion of the Ruth Ellis Center's Claremont Center, where people are going to find real opportunities for permanent supported housing. Serving the minority didn't allow me to pass all the legislation I wanted, but I did introduce over 100 bills and resolutions because why not? But just about a dozen of them did get passed and signed into law by this governor and the last. A significant portion of those were around veterans and veterans-related issues, taking care of spouses and dependents, the people who serve without the uniform. And so I'm so grateful that we got a licensing package that allowed many of those medical workers to come to Michigan and continue to serve, which I know made a huge impact during the pandemic that we dealt with. And so I'm really grateful that we got neighborhood enterprise zones done, and especially the work to remove zip codes and credit scoring from in the landmark auto insurance reform that is going to make and does make an incredible impact on the people who I serve, the people who I live with, and in my entire community. And so as we think about this chamber, I go back to literally day one when Leader Ann and Nick always exercised an incredible level of patience and support for me as I worked through things that mattered to me in my district. Literally the first week, I was breaking all the Senate rules because I had too many people in the caucus room, too many people from the administration. Then Director Hendricks, now the Majority Leader's Chief of Staff, was in the back with MEDC and Ted and a whole host of all the folks as we were trying to save what was then the Poletown factory and now Factory Zero, something I hope is the foundation for many more EV plants and battery plants in the state. Though the factories make the big splashes, most people just want that vacant home demolished. They want that lot cleared. They want their neighborhood to feel safe as they walk their kids to school. And so I was really glad to chair Prop N, which is delivering on exactly those things as I got a chance to talk to people at their block clubs and community groups and organizations as they said, please just fix something. I need to see government working, and we have. It's our role to give our constituents a voice and hope that a better, brighter day is coming. And I've always admired Senator Irwin's ability to do exactly that because he's somebody who's fighting for all the lost causes. And when he gets up, he kind of reminds you that they're only lost if we don't fix them. And so I'm excited about his opportunities to do exactly that. But it's not just the people of the 2nd Senate District who I represent. As a black man and a Native American, I also represent a whole host of other constituencies, just like every single one of us. And as I think about being the 18th black man elected to the Senate, and the opportunities and the discussions as we had about Patrick Lyoya and George Floyd, it meant something. Or when my grandmother came for my swearing in, who was born in this country, not a citizen, even though every one of her ancestors was, because she wasn't made a citizen until she was 2 years old. It's been incredibly refreshing, and I'm so eternally grateful that this chamber unanimously passed a resolution to replace the statue of Lewis Cass, who did not believe that my family deserved to be in this country, even though we were here, because it made a huge difference in this space. My grandmother's grandmother walked from Georgia to Oklahoma in the Trail of Tears, and when we go to the nation's capital, the person who you see standing representing us said that we didn't have a right to any land in this nation, that we could never be civilized, and that we were barely human. And we'll have an opportunity to replace that statue with a towering figure. And former Mayor Coleman Young, who was a Tuskegee Airman, who was a union leader, who was a advocate for domestic manufacturing, who made sure that Detroit and the state of Michigan is the kind of place that we would want to grow and be a part of. He also passed exactly 25 years ago today. One of the groups that continues to be looking for a champion are the trans community. And I have developed an incredible relationship with because of all the work that needed to be done in my district and across the state. I'm so hopeful that we will do things to continue to make it safe for them to live in these spaces and not any other thing more than to be able to live safely, free of murder. I know we're not going to solve all these problems this year, but we do have the opportunity to do some of them, to revive some of the things like film credits and a whole host of other things that are going to get done eventually. As Dr. King said, I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land. Just ask Senator Pohanke, who I've been bending ears about bills that we couldn't get done today that I'm hoping that she'll be able to do in the next session and get across the governor's desk. Because I know we all came here because we believe that there was an opportunity to do something incredible for the people we love and care about and respect. And I hope we push to do it, because that's why we came here. And that's should be our legacy. And I'm so incredibly grateful for the opportunity to serve in this chamber and to have been able to make an impact and to serve with you and work with you. And to my friend Senator Brinks, I can't tell you how excited I am to watch you lead this chamber into the future, because you have been amazing from the moment you got here, and I can't wait to see the impact you're going to have. We have a month left in our term, in our tenure, and we could choose to do a lot of things. I hope we will, because when I ran, I had the expectation that we could do better, and I firmly believe that we every day have the opportunity to do better, to be better, and to make the world the kind of place that we would think is better. And so I hope for however many session days left, we think, how can we leave this place better than it was? Thank you.